Let's talk about 10 blunders that can really derail your Roman holiday. Don't let any of these happen to you. I've got lots to share with you. Let's get started.
Oopsie.
The first blunder many people make when they visit Rome is to pick a location that's not super walkable. Maybe they chose a hotel because it was part of a package, the airfare and the hotel were all included, but oftentimes those hotels in those packages are not in ideal locations. So what is an ideal location? There are lots of great neighborhoods in Rome. The Rome city center, the historic area of Rome, is very large. So in my opinion, being about 20-minute walk of Largo, Argentina, that being the kind of the hub of the historic area, if your hotel or Airbnb is within a 20 minutes of walk of that area, you're gonna be in good shape. But if it's much more than that, I'd probably look for a new place, because having a central location can be a big difference to whether you really enjoy Rome or you spend time just hopping on buses and getting to A to Z and not really enjoying Rome, because let's face it, the best way to see Rome is on foot. So be sure you pick a hotel or Airbnb that is central to all the sites of Rome. While you're in Rome, you don't want to eat bad food. It's so easy to avoid, but it's also so easy to get trapped into eating bad food. It happens because sometimes we go to a restaurant we plan on eating at, the lines are too long, we look next door and say, hey, that restaurant looks pretty reasonable, let's just go in there and give it a try. And you end up in there with something you didn't expect, overpriced food, bad food, and a horrible experience. So, in my opinion, before you eat it anywhere in Rome, you need to check the reviews first. Check on TripAdvisor, check on Google. It doesn't have to be a 5-star, but you don't want a 2 or 3-star either. So be sure you check the reviews. And there is one thing that I have found that is very helpful. If a restaurant is closed on Sundays, it's definitely not a tourist trap, and chances are it's going to be really good. Some of my favorite establishments are all closed on Sundays. So take it for what it's worth and avoid that crappy food in Rome. It always surprises me how many people I see on the side of the road, sitting down at fountains, on a bench, tending their feet. They have blisters, and once your feet have blisters, you're pretty much done.
Look at my foot. Blisters on top of the blisters.
To avoid blisters, I have 2 suggestions. Number 1, before heading to Rome, make sure you're used to walking quite a bit. In Rome, you're going to walk a lot more than you're used to. In fact, you're probably going to walk a minimum of 15,000 steps a day to as much as 25,000 steps a day. So be sure you're acclimated before coming to Rome. And the obvious second thing is wear comfortable shoes you're familiar with, not shoes you just recently purchased.
For the best time in Rome, be sure to subscribe to Rosier Roma and give this video a like.
You've arrived in Rome and everything's going to plan. It's a perfect day. And then you reach back for your wallet to pay for some food somewhere and you realize it's missing. You've been pickpocketed. Yes, there are lots of pickpockets in Rome. Hundreds, if not several hundred of people are pickpocketed every day in Rome. Now that may sound like a lot, but remember there are literally tens of thousands of tourists. So the odds of you being pickpocketed are low. However, I've been pickpocketed twice while in Rome, and it is no fun. The best way to avoid being pickpocketed is to pay attention, be aware, and don't carry your wallet with you. There's no need to walk or tour the city with your wallet, with your passport. Leave those in your hotel. Just maybe in your front pocket, carry enough cash, maybe 1 credit card, and you're gonna be fine for the day. And then the odds of being pickpocketed drop significantly, especially if you're attentive. And again, what's great about Rome is it's a very safe city, even late at night. Nobody's gonna assault you. Nobody's gonna, pull a knife and tell you to hand over your wallet or your cash. But if they're able to sneak it away from you, they will likely do that. Again, just be very attentive and avoid the worst case scenario of losing all your passports and documents and all that stuff to a pickpocket. It really is a trip killer. Oh. Being a victim of a pickpocket can really be awful, but having your luggage stolen can even be worse. So Don't let your luggage be stolen. Most oftentimes it happens when you're on the trains in Rome. It's not super common, but when it does happen, here's how it works. The thieves will get on, let's say at Termini train station, and you might be taking a high-speed train to, let's say, Florence, but there's another stop in Rome, just maybe 5 minutes away, where they pick up additional passengers. The thieves will get on, sit down, scope out the place, maybe they'll stick their bag next to your bag, and then they exit at the first stop. When they grab their bag, they also grab your bag, and they take it with them back into Rome. You don't realize it until you get to Florence, and then you're up a creek, and it does suck. So when you're on the trains in Rome, just be sure you're attentive and know where your luggage is at. Keep an eye on it, so when you arrive at your destination, your bags arrive with you. If you're going to be visiting Rome in 2026 or know somebody who is, be sure to check out our Rome travel guide. It's called Rome Travel Guida. It now has over 10 hours of helpful videos, lots of interactive maps, tons of information to help you have a great time in Rome, including a hotel and an Airbnb guide to help you select a great place to stay when visiting Rome. I will leave a link to it in the description of this video, along with a discount code where you can pick it all up for under $25. The next thing, if it happens to you, it won't ruin your vacation, but it won't feel good either, and that is being fined for riding the public transportation system without a valid ticket. I see this happen way too often. Tourists get stuck where they purchase a ticket, they simply forgot to validate it or didn't realize they needed to validate it, and they're fined close to 100 euros. So whenever you're on the bus, on the trains, the trams, just make sure you stick the ticket into the little machine that's on the train and it stamps it, validating that ticket, and you're gonna be good. But again, I see so many people get fined so often. I just need to make you aware of it. If it happens to you, it's gonna be a bummer, and it could easily be avoided by validating your tickets. At times, Rome feels more like an amusement park than a city with all those lines. One of the biggest lines in Rome where people spend way too much time, it is when they go to visit St. Peter's Basilica. To get into the Basilica, it's free, but you have to go through security, and it's not uncommon to spend 2 or 3 hours in line. The way you can avoid that, the easiest way, is to arrive when it first opens at 7 a.m. Instead of 2 or 3 hours in line, it's 2 or 3 minutes. If that doesn't work for you, try going later in the afternoon after 4 p.m. when the lines start to come down a bit. That also is not too bad, but it's best to go first thing in the morning. When visiting the Roman forums, it's best not to enter next to the Colosseum. That line right there is just way too long, because even though you have a ticket, you have to go through security, and waiting over by the Colosseum, you might spend 30 minutes to an hour or more in line when there are 4 other entrances with almost no line at all that you can just walk right into. So consider that when entering into the Roman Forum. Another line that can easily be avoided is the line to go down to see Trevi Fountain. You can go by Trevi Fountain any time of day, but if you want to get up and close, you now have to go through a line because they're regulating the access. But that regulation is only from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. So if you arrive at Trevi Fountain after 9 p.m. or before 9 a.m., you can just go down and enjoy Trevi Fountain without the line. There are lots of ways to be scammed when visiting Rome. In fact, if you've been scammed while visiting Rome, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you were scammed. One of the biggest scams in Rome, at least people feel they've been scammed, is when they take a Roman taxi. But oftentimes that's because they're getting into ride services, not an official taxi. A ride service is typically a black sedan or a black van, and taxis are typically always white. They say taxi on top. Not too difficult, but it can be confusing when you walk out of the Termini train station and somebody's asking you if you need a ride. They look like they have a pretty reliable car there. It's a black sedan. You hop in, and then they charge you 4 or 5 times what you were expecting. So always take the official taxi. And another tip, always make sure they turn the meter on. Sometimes even the official taxi drivers kind of purposely forget to turn on the meter, and then when you get to that destination, they kind of make up a number to see if you'll go for it. So just make sure you're in an official taxi, make sure the meter's running, and you won't have a big problem. There's also an app called Free Now that's very popular in Rome. You can order taxis, and there is a pay now or a flat fare fee that you can choose on that app if you want to. That way, it might be a little higher than you would normally pay on the meter, but at least it's a fare that you kind of are aware of, and it's flat fare, and they won't change it when you get dropped off because it'll be done through the app, making it super clear and to easily avoid being scammed. If you're visiting Rome in the hot summer months, I recommend you avoid the sun when possible. The best way is to get out the door by around 5 in the morning. There's actually a lot to see and do early in the morning in Rome, and it's quite enjoyable. At around 11, eat lunch, and then head back to your hotel, relax for a bit, and then in the evening you can go back out, enjoy the city. That is honestly the best way to enjoy Rome on a hot day. Do not sleep in, or you're gonna be forced to fight the crowds with the heat, and it'll probably be miserable. If you're thinking about renting a car in Rome, there's a few things you should know. It can be a great experience, especially if you want to go tour some of the smaller towns around Rome, but if you're going to plan on driving in the city of Rome, it may not be a great idea, even if you're an experienced driver, because it's pretty chaotic. The Italian drivers are very aggressive, and probably the reason I don't like driving in Rome is the parking. It's near impossible to find a free parking place. So that means you're gonna always be having to pay for parking or looking for a garage, again, where you're gonna have to pay for parking. It just becomes a real headache. Sometimes you'll spend 20, 30 minutes just driving around looking for a place to stick the car. It's best to avoid driving a car in Rome, in my opinion, taking the public transportation, taxis, just not a car. But you do what you want to do. That's just from my experience. But again, if you're going to be out in the country, it's a lot of fun. If you enjoy street food, I've got a really good video I did about street food. It's a 2-part series. The video is coming up right now. Be sure to check that out. Otherwise, to the next one. Alla prossima. Ciao.